Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So should we do a countdown? Three, two, one. Hi, Maddie.
Hi, Mariama.
How are you today?
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. Hi, everybody out there, and welcome back to the Reality Roundup podcast. Today, we're going to be discussing episode three of MTV's 40th season of the Challenge Battle of the Eras. We had a really good episode this week. We've had three great episodes in a row. I didn't think they could do it, but they've done it.
Oh my
They've
God, I was
done
so
it.
distressed. So
Um,
distressed.
Please, if you like what we got going on here, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. We're just getting started. We're trying to hit a goal of 1,000 subscribers, and we're gonna get there one at a time. So please make sure you're one of those ones. I'm trying to get all of these episodes out every Sunday, just because that's what our schedules permit right now. Monday morning by the latest, so Monday at 8 a.m. by the latest. You can find us on here. I do a live premiere of each episode, and I hang out in the chat during the live premiere for the entirety of the episode. So please come join us, subscribe, turn on your notification bells, and if you see us premiering, come down, get in the live premiere, talk in the chat. I'll be in the chat to speak back, and then same thing with the comments. Again, comment for us, and I'll make sure to like or respond to each comment. Thank you.
I have a day job, which means I don't participate as much at this current time.
Yeah,
But one day, hopefully, that will change.
perhaps, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Okay, so episode three of Battle of the Eras, a fatal era. The episode was called.
First of all, we love that. Second of all, again, watching it on DVR is quite the experience because there were 555 VMA commercials. Like
Really?
there were so many, and it leads me to a point that I have for you right off the rip is the VMAs are on Sunday or Wednesday, September 11th
Mhm.
at 8 p.m. I'm assuming we're not gonna have an episode that week.
No. So, yes, we're not gonna have an episode that week. I'll confirm. Um,
It's funny because they moved the VMAs because they were originally on the 10th, but then the presidential debate was supposed to be on the 10th, and so they moved them to the 11th with that, which I think is funny because we might not even have a debate
I
anymore.
will say like these seasons go on for a long time, so the fact that it's gonna be delayed by a week in my mind, I'm just like, oh.
I was actually, at first I wasn't distressed by that until we reached the end of the episode, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I need to know what happens like right now.
um, are you planning on watching the VMAs?
I actually might, yes, because Megan is hosting
Megan who?
the Stallion.
Oh, I was like, is Meghan Markle?
Oh, my queen, the Duchess.
What's the other Megan? All about the vase? Ain't her
Oh,
name
a
Megan?
trainer.
Megan Trainor. I was like, that's who I thought at first, and then, but like the only name I could see is Meghan Markle,
No, my
Princess
Princess of
of Sussex.
H-Town.
Is it?
My
Oh, isn't
well,
she
she's the
Princess of
Duchess of
Sussex?
Sussex.
Duchess of Sussex. Sussex.
Yes, but I was gonna say Megan the Stallion is my Princess of Houston, obviously with Beyonce being the Queen of Houston.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes.
All right. All right. Let's get into our episode. What do you think of this episode?
I felt like a regular, I said a version of this last week, but like this time I felt like a real challenge, like watcher, because I was like getting like
That's what you are now. That's all it takes. It's two
getting
episodes.
angry at strategy related things. Like I have so many like functionality critiques that like really bothered me during this episode, not like
Mhm.
the way the episode is shot, but like in terms of just the way that people work as a team. I was like up in arms at several points.
Mhm.
I was disgusted by the gladiator challenge. It was really upsetting to me.
I hate eating
um
challenges.
I think they're so ridiculous, like
They're a
please.
staple. They're a staple of the show. I hate them.
I don't like it. Like it's giving Fear Factor, and I hate Joe Rogan. And I'm trying to think what else. Obviously I hate Tony. We'll talk about that.
I thought I'm here today prepared to. I thought I would have to come in and be prepared to defend Tony on some points. So I.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And then the things that have no meaning at all to the plot, but just were funny to me. People hiding the vaping on camera, very funny.
Oh, I didn't
Um,
catch it.
I
Oh,
did multiple times. I was like, this is so funny to me. There's one point in time where Bananas literally just has a vape in his hand, and
I
I was just
did
like, this
see
is so
that.
funny.
I
Yeah, I
did
was like,
see that.
that's
I
so
don't know
funny.
if it was him, but I saw someone holding a vape, so it may have been him.
And I was like, Lord have mercy. Yeah. The last thing y'all need is vaping. And then there was some, oh, and then Banana's wig during toga time. That really, really took me out. I was like, whose damn wig is this? Bananas. But other than that, like everything else will come out in the wash. We'll talk about it in
Okay.
order of importance.
So first we well actually very strangely first we started with a flashback to Vendettas. Um,
Yeah, that scared me.
what did you think about that? Because I know you've never seen Vendettas, right?
It was a Devon-based flashback, wasn't
Yeah, it
it?
was a Devon-based flashback, which was weird. It's actually a Tony-based flashback. So essentially, the reason Devon
Um,
beats Bananas, Devon and Bananas had like a brewing rivalry at that time. Bananas was a like four-time, five-time champion, and Devon was in his second or third season, but he kind of made himself an antagonist to Bananas like in his first two seasons. Essentially, he was an antagonist to Bananas in his rookie season. Which was X's one of X's two maybe. So and Tony was sort of like Bananas' protege. Tony and Bananas had a very
Oh,
strong relationship and a good like alliance for every season previously that Tony and Bananas had been on together, and definitely in that season of Vendettas. And Tony betrays Bananas. Devin is down in elimination, and Tony has like a deciding vote basically of who to send in. And Devin really wants Bananas, and Devin convinces Tony to send in Bananas because it's the big move. We can get rid of him before the finals because if he gets to the finals, none of us are beating him. Tony sends in Bananas. Devin eliminates Bananas, and it puts Devin on the map, like the move, and just calling his
okay.
shot against like the greatest challenge player ever and winning, like solidifies Devin as like
Yeah, because I
a
was like,
star.
at first I was very confused, but then I like was like, it didn't hit me as like a Tony flashback or anything like that. I was
Yeah,
just like, oh, they're just like giving
I
me a
didn't
little bit
catch
of
it.
flashback.
So I didn't catch it. So you know this. I don't know if the audience knows. I watch like each episode twice. I usually watch it like Wednesday night or Thursday morning, like just to view,
Mhm.
like just as a lover and watcher of the show. And then I typically watch it right before we film. And the second time when I watch it is when I take notes. So I watched the events of of the episode, and I hadn't even like thought about that clip. I didn't remember, and then when I was watching it on the second time, I was like, oh, it makes sense why they're
Yeah.
putting this here at the beginning, knowing
As
what
you
happens
know,
later
but
on.
for our audience, I only ever watch it one time. Um, one because very often that's all the time that I have to do so, but more so because I just like I take notes the first time and only time because I just like my raw takes. And so I write them down and they are a hot ass mess in my notes. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm usually still writing my raw takes that I was thinking. I just can't like I know if I like watched and wrote, I'd miss a lot of like information.
No, I just
Um
write during commercial breaks or pause
oh,
it,
I don't have
literally.
commercial breaks because I watch it
Oh,
on a
that's right.
yeah, on a
Damn.
playback on a stream. So I
Usually
watch
I just if I have to write a note that I think is going to take a minute, then I pause it and then I just continue.
you're smart. She's a smart girl.
Thank you.
Um and then before we get into the challenge, I think we had a bunch of interesting stuff going on. We had Tony coming back from his elimination with Leroy, and he's feeling himself. He's like, Leroy's weak. I expected more from him.
I did
And
expect more from Leroy. Yeah.
but I think the most interesting thing that we saw was, and I don't know if this was like a real alliance that was being formed or if this was people just talking in the house after, avoiding elimination, but we saw Kara talking to Derek and Anissa and a few other people who I can't remember now. I think Naya may have been around or somebody
Hmm.
else, maybe Olivia was around, and they called it an alliance of the misfits. And I was like, this
Yeah.
would be really interesting if this actually becomes an alliance, right? Kara was also there, and not Kara was Kara obviously was there. Kara was also talking to Rachel, and we saw her maybe
Hmm.
talking to a few other people, Theo, like hugging up on folks, and she seems to have a lot of support, and I think that's like real interesting.
Yeah. And then obviously with what happens later with Anissa when she's like, I'm gonna she's when she's like, I'm gonna F that man up. I was like, oh, maybe we will circle back around to this because Anissa
What are
is
we talking about?
absolute
F
at
who
the to,
at the elimination?
Yeah, Lee
Okay.
was it Leroy? No, it's not Leroy. It's
Darrell, Darrell,
Daryl. Darrell.
Darrell.
There we go. Daryl. Um, when Daryl's like, "Oh my God, she's gonna kill me," but and then he like says like Anissa, and she was like,
Mhm.
"Oh my God, I can't even." I was like, "Okay, maybe we will circle it back around to the Misfits thing because we don't
So
touch it at any other point in the
yeah,
episode."
that's why I'm skeptical of it because I don't see those people have another strategic conversation through the course of the episode,
No.
at all. Like whether it's even just getting together and be like, hey, you go talk to Avery, I'll go talk to this person, I'll go talk to Tony to try to get them to kind of go this way. We don't see those people come together. And Derek was one of the people in those conversations, and he was one of the people up for elimination. So we don't see those
Yeah.
people get back together at any point to go, what do we do to try to save Derek and make sure Kylan and Casey go in? So I thought this is why I think it might just kind of be a loose thing. What I think why I'm super interested in it is because it seems like this might be a season where Kara actually has some viable like options for alliances, which on its face
Yeah.
is a good thing. But I just as a Kara fan, I feel like Kara kind of plays better from the bottom. I don't think Kara plays well from the top.
Oh, I
So
see what you mean. Like she chokes.
yeah, well, no, Kara has been like the tortured, bullied soul of like the redheaded. She is redheaded, the
Oh no, she
redheaded
is.
stepchild of the challenge, for her entire challenge career, basically.
Which
And
I don't, not that I don't like or understand. Well, no, maybe I don't
no,
understand.
people are mean. People were mean to her. Like she was bullied some at times quite severely. And there
Like
really isn't like a
why? Just because she's weird?
yeah, because she's weird and people don't like her.
Okay.
I mean, she is weird and sometimes unlikable, but
Okay.
she
Yeah.
doesn't deserve like the mistreatment that she has gotten. But I just think that that mistreatment and that like edge, that like need to prove herself, prove that she belongs, prove that she can play the game or whatever has grown her legend.
Hmm.
It's the reason why she has the elimination record that she has because she's getting sent in a lot. And I think it's the reason she went and got stronger because she got eliminated early on a lot too.
Well,
Um,
yeah, when she was in her Rocky Horror costume, I was just like, okay,
yeah.
Cora.
So
Thanks.
she's she knows how to play the game. Like she learned how to play the game at the bottom, so I think she knows how to like maneuver when everyone's
Hmm.
against her and she only has like one or two allies. And sometimes when she has power, she's not able to like I don't this is just an opinion, but she it feels like she's not able to think beyond like a move or two, because
Mm-mm.
that's survival, right? Like when you're in
Yes.
survival, you can only really think about this moment and the next. You can't really think too far beyond that.
And barely the
Um,
next. Yeah.
yeah, and when
But I
you,
wonder if there's going to be a difference between power and support, right?
yeah, that's a good call. Yeah.
Yeah, because like I don't really perceive her as having a whole bunch of power. Like
Mhm.
I don't know if people would really go to bat for her, at least what we know of right now. But I feel like especially because Polly is gone and that was her that is her boyfriend. I feel like maybe just feeling supported like in a way that maybe she usually is not, but maybe not at translating to power might be
Yeah.
helpful, which is
Yeah.
definitely the therapist in me saying that. But like I'm excited to see that. And I'm assuming obviously because they filmed the whole thing, so they're cutting for a storyline that like I don't know why they would do that and the Island of Misfit Toys situation and like not come back to them because they're editing like the whole thing at once. I'm assuming
Mhm.
it's going to be
Yeah.
important. Like,
Yeah. I think
yeah.
it's good to read in like the subtext of what the story is trying to tell us, what the editors are trying to tell us
Yeah,
the
because
story.
the whole thing is done, right? Like
Yeah.
every like and so they're editing for a story. So I'm assuming they know, I mean literally they know more than we do about what comes up.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. There's a difference between power in the game and just support and camaraderie, with the
Yeah.
rest of the house and just feeling like you belong, right, and not feeling like an outsider in the game. I have a ton of thoughts on the first little bit before the challenge, so I'll just read them off, and you can tell us. Now, Aviv and Darrell get a flashback, and I think like now we know kind of why that was there. And then
Yes, that
love
made
is in the
sense.
air, so we hear about Emily and Brad getting close to each other. Although Emily was wilding out a little bit this episode.
With Casey, I was like, oh
Emily, you know
my
that lady has a
gosh.
wife. Like, girl, back up.
Like she that was very she was like, I'm sorry.
It
I'm
was
like,
so
I
random. It was so random. I was like, why is this included? Like,
did we know Emily was queer already?
I didn't. People, I mean,
Oh,
somebody else
okay.
might have, but I didn't.
Okay.
And I wrote Horacio's acting like Nerys got executed or something. Like,
See, like I think it was Michelle
mhm,
maybe who was
mhm,
like hyping him up, but
yeah.
he was eating off his little paper plate in the bedroom. I was like, she's fine. Like,
He had a confessional last week after, like right when she's gone. He's like, "Oh, my girlfriend's gone now." He's like crying after she leaves. And then we start again today with him like once again crying in the confessional, and I'm like, "Horacio, like she's going back to Los Angeles, like the home of boba tea and chicken and waffles. Like she'll be fine, babe. Like you're going to see her in 2 months."
point of question for you, do they actually send people back home or do they do
Mhm.
that holding stage thing where they don't send anybody back home and so there's no spoilers?
They send him home.
Oh, interesting.
They send them home. I'm sure like some super fans and like challenge sleuths will know. And there's probably like a website or something of spoilers where people are getting spotted in airports or something. But that hasn't been a huge thing for this show, like in its like historically. Like I
Yeah.
haven't gotten spoiled a lot by people. I've never been spoiled by someone being like, "Kyle's home early. I saw him at Tesco's," like or
Because
something like that.
do they do that on Survivor? They hold people before they send them
Yeah,
home?
on Survivor, they if you're sent home pre jury phase, they send them on like a trip. Like they basically like
Oh.
send them on like a trip. And then if you're sent home post jury, well, one there is a jury, so like everybody
Hmm.
participates at the end of the game and they vote for a winner, so they all have to stay there to the end anyway. If you make it to the merge,
That's what I was thinking. Exactly.
right? So
Okay.
when you make it
Yes.
to the merge, they send them to another island in or a place like in the
Close
country
by.
that they're in, and they're on like a resort basically, and just eating all day
Okay,
and
that makes sense because I used to watch Survivor as a child.
yeah.
Hmm.
So that was all that I have from that beginning phase. Before we get into the challenge, do you have any thoughts? Any other thoughts there?
My only thoughts were Aviv's kids are cute. TJ's kind of hot. I wonder what he does when he's not on camera.
Um,
Um,
he stars in movies. He BMX bikes. He helps to design challenges. Sometimes he goes on vacation with his wife, and he's a really good person in real life. Like he's generally just like he lives in Vegas. I
oh.
don't know if he still does, but I remember around like the late 20s, early 30s of this series,
Hmm.
he would just be like in Vegas getting photographed and filmed by fans. Like there's one time where he was like on live on Twitter or something like that or Instagram live,
Hmm.
and he just like picks up a homeless man and like drives around like he's like on the street and someone's like begging for money and
Yeah.
asks him something. He's like, "Okay, yeah, like get in the car." He just like drives this homeless person
Oh, okay,
somewhere
TJ.
like on Instagram live or something. So he
Or
he
as
lives
Tony
a
said, Tej.
Tej, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. And then I had, which will be a perfect segue for us. Gladiator is just a funny title. I just thought that
you
was very funny.
you like that.
I did. I mean, it
Okay.
was like what it implied was disgusting once we find out, but when they first said it, I was like, this is funny. Okay.
So let's get into the challenge. So the challenge for the day is Gladiator, and it's a three-phase challenge. So the first part is that they have to row around an island in a
Hmm.
dragon
Hmm.
boat in this very long, looks cumbersome like dragon boat with these small paddles. They
Yeah.
didn't mention the distance around the island. I wish they would have said that.
Oh. Oh yeah,
Um,
they didn't. They just showed us the map.
yeah, I mean, it looked pretty large from like the map view, right?
Yeah.
But you don't know. Well, I don't know. And then in step two, they'd have to eat some local Vietnamese delicacies, some of which included boiled cow eyes, balut, durian, tofu, was it a pig brain, and a bunch of
Mm.
other stuff. So I think there were
The
eight total.
rat and the snake.
A rat and a snake. Yeah.
I feel like they cooked these things in the most unappetizing way
Not
possible.
only do they cook them terribly and without any seasoning and no hot sauce, but they also are sitting there in the Vietnamese sun for however long it takes these people to hear the instructions from TJ, get into their teams, get mic'd up, get in whatever equipment they need for the challenge,
Right.
row around an island, and then come back and eat it. So they're literally sitting there covered with like a wicker
Yeah,
basket
because like
in the
you
sun.
can eat weird, not weird stuff, because
I would not want to
cultural.
drink a durian shake that's been sitting out in the sun
What is
for
durian, by the way?
it's a fruit. It's a
It's
Southeast
just a
Asian fruit.
nasty
It's very
fruit. Okay.
smelly. It's very stinky. Like
Yeah,
it's
because
so
like
stinky that like in Southeast Asia, where it's native to, there are certain hotels, restaurants, apartment complexes that have rules, laws, forbidding tenants from eating durian indoors. Like there's certain hotels
And
that
they
won't
should do
allow you.
that with chitlins. I'm sorry, Black people. I love us, but they should do that with chitlins.
I've never been around a chitlin, God bless.
Well, literally, yes, it is against your religion. But as a person who has been around chitlins, it smells like somebody is cooking and consuming bleach.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
So that was stage two, and then stage
Hmm.
three is that they must place the error shields in order from 1 to 40. I expected this as a challenge. I'm sure, like Tori said, she expected it too. I didn't
Yeah.
expect it this early, so you know.
I mean, Tori was right on the money with that when she was like, I was studying this because this is their first, I mean, not their first challenge because we had the challenge invitational, but like this is essentially their
Their
first
first team challenge,
challenge.
yeah, it's their first
Yeah. And
challenge.
so she was right in guessing that at some point in time that would probably matter. I mean, there would really be no other reason except for decor to do that in the place where they're staying. And so I was like, you know what? Good for you, Queen. And like, yes. But Tori's what? Eris? No, three?
3. Mm-hmm.
Do they win?
Yes.
Yes, they win the whole thing. Okay, yeah, so that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. Oh, where's oh my gosh, I'm missing the rest of my people. Um, but that well, we got to talk about the rowing. We got to talk about
Yeah.
the rowing because
So
the row, oh my God, the boat had me agitated. I was like,
so
please
well,
be for real.
first we get into the rowing, and Era 3 jumps up to a lead really quick with Era 4 in close second. And then I don't know if you saw that, but that was pretty quickly into the row. And when they showed like the aerial view of the boats, and it was like Era 3,
Yeah,
Era 4, and then
yeah.
quite a big gap before we saw Era 1 hit, and then learned of what some of their challenges were. What was your beef with the boat?
The boat itself fine. I do think the paddles were a little bit small. I don't
Yeah.
know, to me. And the fact that they had a rudder, I was like, okay, like do we really need that? But I guess in order to turn, truly we do.
Yeah, it's a
But like
longboat.
who what to me as somebody who's never rode anything bigger than a kayak in my life, I was like automatically my thought was the way that you see like competitive rowing happening. Like there's a caller where everybody shuts up. Nobody wanted to shut up. It was really frustrating to me. There's somebody who makes the decisions, everybody has a role, and you just do that thing, right?
Mhm.
Like you trust the person. And so when everybody, especially in Eras one, which made me really sad, I think I wrote that this was very embarrassing. Um, everybody wanted to like have a say, and I think it's the girl from Alaska. Is that Olivia?
Olivia is Era
Yes.
4.
When like they were shouting like row, I was like, yes, this is how you do this. Like this is a group competition, but this is not a group project in the way that everybody needs to have an input. You just need to do what you are told so we can move the boat.
Yeah, I think that's a valid like observation. What I thought when I was watching this, I just kind of thought, I was like, I didn't actually like notice. I didn't pay attention to how people were strategizing. I didn't pay attention to like how they sat in their boats and who was where or whatever.
Oh, how
Um,
the turns have
how the
tabled. That was the
turns
only
have
thing I was
tables.
thinking about. I was like, what are you doing? Roll the boat like this.
Part of the reason is I didn't actually expect that they were gonna come up with any particular strategy, the challengers.
Yeah.
Um, and I thought everybody was just gonna brute strength this, and it was essentially gonna be like which team had the strongest men and the strongest and the stronger women. But when I watched it on the second watch, what I actually noticed was like a lot of people like resting, and I wrote a note that was like um hating on Anissa basically.
And
Even though were supposed to stop that, it was. But there's like a point where I noticed that Era 1 is behind, and it's after they get stuck like multiple times, and right
oh my
out of
God,
the
and
gate.
Jody has to jump out of the boat to
Yeah,
push them.
Jody.
I was like, oh my
Jody
gosh.
loves that. Jody wants to be a hero so bad. Like if Jody,
She was definitely hitting them with a very good swim. Like she was
yeah,
like hitting those angles. I
Jody's
was like, okay,
like, oh my god, if we come back, this montage is gonna look so good. I bet she
yes.
does. No,
Yes, she
but
was.
like immediately out of the gate, like I see Anissa like just holding her paddle, and I made note of that. And then like later on, I saw Corey kind of doing it too. So I was like, oh, maybe like everybody, this is part of the strategy. Maybe that's why I was curious about the
Mm,
distance. Maybe I'm like,
mm.
hey, the distance is so far that like you do have to like rest some of your people at times, and that might be adding to
Yeah.
whatever's going on. But then there's a point where Era 1 is like behind. Like at this point, like Era 2 is like coming to shore or like finishing, and they were in third place. And Era 1 is still on the other side of the island, and both Tina and Anissa, it's a very brief shot, but both Tina and Anissa are stopped. Like Tina doesn't even have a paddle in her hand. She's sitting not even on like the little stool. She's sitting in the bottom of the boat, like hand on her head, resting, and Anissa
Yes.
just has like her paddle on her lap. And I was like, "Oh, y'all y'all not here to win." Like,
I just like it really, the strategy of the boat really bothered me. I don't know if, again, if it's the New Englander in me or what it is, but I was like, you have a leader. The leader sits in the back of the boat or the front of the boat facing everybody, and you
I,
shout. There are
and
people that do this professionally.
well, and it was very clear, like the two teams that did that or a version of that won, right? Like Era
Yeah.
3 had that
Ugh.
with Devin calling, Jordan just working the rudder, and then everybody else essentially. Because there's something that not Jordan, Devin said where he goes, everybody back to your original positions. Um,
Yes,
like we're just
exactly.
going straight now. Everybody back to your original positions, and then we're turning right now. Like so they may have had positions for like, hey,
Ugh.
if I say turn right, this is where you go. If I say we're straight, this is where you go. If I say we're left, this is where you go. And
Exactly.
and
Oh
Devin didn't
my.
even have a paddle in his hand. He was just sitting in that boat talking. And like you said, Era 3 did a
Yeah.
version of that with Miss Alaska, Olivia, coming
Yeah.
through. Olivia loves telling us that she's from Alaska, boy. I
I
know
feel
we're.
like that's very Alaska behavior,
I feel
though.
like we're gonna hear it at least seven
Like
more
people
times
from
this season.
Detroit, like just always shouting about being
That's me.
from like
Like now that I'm living in the South, every time I talk to somebody, I make sure I like get in a little factoid about Columbus.
I've already mentioned I'm from New England once this episode. And
um,
I won't stop.
no, this is deep. This is deep. Like Olivia lore. She really wants. She's proud of that frozen tundra over there. So shout out
And
to
not
her.
so frozen, by the way, just for a moment for
Frozen
rest
like
in
most
peace.
of the year.
Yeah, but just a moment for climate change because it's not looking good.
Uh,
Yes.
um.
Sorry.
So we get into placements in the boat. Oh, actually, we missed a huge portion. So before the challenge starts, TJ asks everybody to select
Hmm.
representatives.
Yeah.
So in era one, Darrell and Jody were selected as the representative, and then in era two, Derek Chavez, Derek C, and Aviv were selected as representatives, and then Tony and Avery from era three, and Kylan and Casey from era four. And TJ basically tells us whichever team comes in first, their representatives are safe, and then the last place team, both of their representatives are going automatically into elimination, and
Hmm.
the second and third place finishers, their representatives are going to chambers to plead their case to the winners of why they or like shouldn't get sent in, and the winners
Hmm.
would nominate the second team to face off against the losers. At this
Yeah.
point, we don't know whether it's an individual competition or a team competition, so we don't know if they're going to be in eliminations competing in male female pairs or competing guys versus guys or girls versus girls. So we missed
Yeah,
that
I
point.
wrote that at some point. I wrote, I know well, what I really wrote is I knew they were gonna do that voting each other in thing. Like I have known it this whole time. I was like, including previous episodes where I was like, there's gonna be a point where like other people are in charge of other people's futures.
Mhm.
I was like, there's no point in having these eras group if you don't do that.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. That's
Yeah,
reality TV
especially because
competition.
there's cross era relationships, right? And so it makes it infinitely more complicated, which seems to be,
Yeah.
skip all the way to the end, exactly the other thing that they did at the end, which is making it infinitely more complicated for those cross era
I
relationships.
love that little twist at the end, but we'll get there.
We'll get there.
So at the end of stage 1, I don't know if we mentioned this, era 3 comes in first, era 4 is in second place, and then Era
Mhm.
2 finishes third, and Era 1 is behind everybody. Actually, no, I won't say that yet. So we get to stage 2, which is the eating of the delicacies, and the order
Mm.
doesn't really change much, except for Era 2 overtakes Era 4 in the eating challenge, and
Yeah.
then we get out of that stage with Era 3, 2, 4, and then 1. And I want to note that we'll just kind of we won't bury the lead. In stage 3, Era 3 wins the entire challenge. They put the shields in order from 1 to 40, the quickest, and
Hmm.
the places stayed the same with 2 in second place,
Yeah.
4 in third place, and 1 finishing last. I just kind of noticed that like Era 3. or Era 3 was finishing and Era 1 was still eating. Like they were still on stage 2 and that's when I was like, "Oh, dang."
It just made that feeling that you had is what I had when Jody jumped out of the boat to push them. I was like, oh
That's what I
no.
had when I saw that like no one had even made a single turn yet and Era 1 was already like stuck in some marsh and like all the way behind all the other teams. I was like, "Yeah, you're not." I believed for a little bit that they could come back, but like every time we panned to them, they were getting stuck. Like every time we
Yeah,
panned to them, they were actively working on getting themselves unstuck. Like we
unstuck.
never saw we saw maybe one clip of them just rowing smooth like on water and not like in the grass somewhere. So I
What did the
I knew
K-pop
it was
girlie
over in the
say? The
water.
bias, when you have a bias for one member.
Yeah.
I clearly have a bias for Era One because I was like, oh my God, please don't do this. Like, please.
Yeah, it was overweight. It's really sad. This was a sad episode for me, as entertaining as it was. So next we get back into the house and
Hmm.
we got a lot of like strategizing. We got a lot of politicking going on and a lot of
Before we talk about the house, it has just occurred to me that I don't think anybody gets the puzzle, the order wrong. At least we don't see like people
anyone
being
ask
like,
for a
oh,
check
check.
and get an incorrect
Yeah,
check. Yeah,
everybody gets it right. Good for them.
good for them.
Also, could you not see other people's?
I can tell. You probably could if they were like back to back. Maybe you walk around. People find a way to cheat, but I couldn't
Yeah,
tell.
because I was like, if
Or unless
Era,
they were like specifically told. But that's not a part of the challenge. You can always cheat a little bit, especially on puzzles.
that's what I
You're
was saying.
always
Because I
allowed
was
to like
like,
look
if
off
Era
screen.
3 smashed it, which they did,
Yeah,
and
just go
all you
copy
gotta do
them.
is look at
Just go
them.
stand in front of them and call it out to your team. Like,
Yeah. Like that would be the only thing you got to do. The other two things were the things that were a little bit harder to cheat on, but that one you could just look.
I think honestly, I don't think this would have been that hard. I feel like for most of the people there, they could name like a good 10 challenges in a row, right? So all you need is
Yeah.
somebody that knows the first 10, somebody that knows the next 10, and I think almost every team would have had that.
Yeah, because
Like
everybody's participated in sections
like
of them.
yeah.
So,
Well, no. Yes. Okay, I get what you're saying. I was just
mhm.
gonna say like yeah I can think like if you think about the people that are on the season like I feel like Kylan would know all of these like I feel like Kylan would know all of these. I feel like Tori would know all of these. Bananas would know all of these. Like CT would know all of these. Everybody would like have
Exactly. Like,
somebody that knew all of them.
yeah.
Although, like I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know all of them, especially that 1 through 10. I
Well,
don't
my
think I would
God.
have
I
been.
mean, you were what? We were babies,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
4 years old. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't have known that like 1 through 10. That would have been the hardest part. But again, if I was coming on season 40 Battle of the Eras, I would have learned 1 through 10.
I
Like
mean, and Tori studied the wall.
yeah.
There we go. Okay, back to the house.
Back to the house. So, first thing we see actually, as soon as we come back from the challenge, our winners again are the representatives for Era 3 are Tony and Avery. So they have the power to select either Derek or Aviv to go in from Era 2
Hmm.
or Kylan and Casey to go in from Era 3. And
Hmm.
then Darrell and Jody, who are last place with Era 1, are
Yeah,
automatically in. That's correct.
you're right.
Um, so the first thing we see is Josh from Era 4 getting trying to strike up a deal with Tony and go, hey, look out for us, and then if Era 4 wins, we'll make sure whoever's nominated from Era 3 doesn't go in. This is
Also,
not
I
a
feel like everybody's bad at whispering. Not like in the terms of other
no,
people
ain't
hearing
nobody
them,
whispering.
but like when people, I'm just like,
Most
okay.
people don't whisper. They
It,
some they I mean they went
I
in
feel
a
like Josh was
separate
whispering.
they went in a separate room to have the conversation. So they probably like didn't care anyway. But people have those type of conversations at the breakfast table at breakfast with the people they're talking about sitting right there.
That's
like
funny to me.
people don't like people. Part of the reason they all hate Wes is because Wes was having secret conversations like historically. But like
Oh,
people don't hide their alliances kind of like that, and those sort of deals are very normal. This isn't a bad move. This is standard like challenge strategy and gameplay from
hmm.
Josh. It's actually also smart as well too. But immediately after we see that, we see all of Era 3 get together while Avery is doing her makeup, and they basically say a version of the same thing. Now,
Yeah.
with Era 3, Tori and Devin specifically are real life friends, at least I thought they were, with Josh and Casey from Era 4. But Tori
Yeah.
is like very close friends with Casey, and very good friends like historically with Josh.
Hmm.
Devin, same thing, very close with Casey, very close with Josh. They've been aligned together in previous challenges. They've helped each other. They've vacationed all together. They
Yeah.
used to have beef, but they all squashed it now.
Oh,
And when I saw this, I was like, oh, God, this is going to be another one of those seasons where I'm going to get real mad at Tori Deal for cutting all these deals.
sorry. That was fantastic.
um, but what did
I
you think
miss Theo
about
and his eyebrow this episode.
what did you think about the politicking this during this period during this time?
I just honestly, the thing that bothered me the most was the whispering, but um the thing that I wrote that stuck out to me the most, uh well, first of all, I wrote Tony, no one likes you. Like it was very clearly on. The stalemate thing, obviously, because that's news to me. I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
Well,
interesting.
before that. Oh, yeah, you did learn about
Yes,
that.
I didn't
There.
know.
Okay.
Yes, not the actual stalemate that happens, but like learning about what the stalemate was. I was like, oh, okay, that explains a lot. And then honestly, the thing that I wrote that like made me giggle the most because I was talking about the politicking that was happening during Toga time, was when Naya was just like, I'm trying to make both these boys fall in love with me and like see how that. And I was like, I like that strategy. But as I have said multiple times now, my favorite strategy is Jordan's strategy, which is just, I'm going to owe you something. I always pay my debts. And then we move on. And then, of course, the thing that clearly is one of the most important things about this season is is the intra. I'm not getting that
Inter.
prefix right. Um, era like relationships, like people who are friends with people in other things,
Mm-hmm.
clearly like by the editing and all that jazz and the way that things are getting like the twists are
Yeah.
happening, that is like one of the top things.
Not
And
even
so to
I would
see,
yeah, I would say not even just friendships, but even like enemies. Like these people have
mhm,
like longtime enemies that are like on another team, right? So like
yeah,
that's why this was kind of interesting. Tony's been away for a while, and his
did he get
closest
hurt? Somebody got hurt.
uh, what do you mean? Everybody gets
Didn't
hurt.
somebody
Got
get
hurt.
hurt, like their eye got hurt?
Oh,
You told me
Theo. That was,
this. Oh, Count Olaf, sorry. Yes.
yeah, that was Theo. He hurt his eye after War of the Worlds 2. And he wore an eye patch for a long time. Like, and I'm still not sure whether he had to get surgery or anything, but yeah, that's why he
Again,
did.
Theo, if your
That's why
eyebrow
he's
is
been
medical,
gone
I'm
for a while.
sorry.
He hurt his eye and he had a baby. That's why he's been gone for a while.
Yeah.
Tony, I thought he got married, but apparently he did not marry that girl. But he did have two more kids, one more child. Um, so, but he's just been taking time off, and he hasn't been here in a while. Tony is like arch enemies with Corey, and Corey actually
Hmm.
got kicked off of a show for violence against Tony. And historically, he's been very close with Bananas until he betrayed Bananas, and then they were partnering together. They kind of got back cool. What I actually thought about this, like my thoughts when I was seeing this happening before they went into Chambers, I like I was kind of like, okay. I'll give a interesting tidbit. So Wednesday night, I was actually doing some editing for the
Hmm.
podcast, so I didn't watch the episode live, and I was
Hmm.
editing probably till like 11 p.m. But at some point, I went on the challenge wiki to check, like to fact check something about somebody's like previous elimination record or something like that, and I got spoiled on this episode because I ended up seeing who I not
Oh.
well I didn't know what happened, but I ended up seeing the four people that were in the elimination round. So when
Oh, okay.
Tony and Avery won and Darrell and Jody were like voted in, I was like, oh, I wonder how I wonder how Tony and Avery are gonna get into an elimination round, and I was like,
Oh,
oh.
so you didn't know like about the stalemate and stuff like that.
Yeah, I didn't know,
Okay,
right?
gotcha.
Like watching the episode, I thought they were going to get voted in, and then I saw them win, and I was like, well, if you won safety, how do you end up
How
in
do you end
the
up
arena?
down there? Yeah.
You get still mated. And so
Oh,
like
gosh.
pretty much once like they get, and I didn't put it together yet at this point. I wasn't even like really thinking about it too hard, but once they get into Chambers and Avery is like Avery's kind of like challenging Casey. I was like, oh, okay, okay. Like, so other than the conversations that Tony had, we saw Avery have a conversation with Derek where he's like,
Mhm.
I hate to put you in this position, or whatever, but like Casey and Kyla needs to go in. Do you have an opinion on which team you would have voted in if you were in Avery and Tony's position?
Ooh. I think because of the stalemate, that's two different questions, though. Like, there's the Avery question and the Tony question.
Yeah, that's what I
Because
want. Whose side are you on, Avery or Tony?
I'm on Avery's side.
You would
I'm,
have
I'm,
voted in Kylan and Casey.
yeah. I mean, I think that the opportunity to handicap another team for the knowledge that we have at this point in time,
Mhm.
that it is a team competition for the foreseeable future, because that's the whole point of eras, right? Why would you not? Handicap's the wrong word, but why would you not like reduce the effectiveness of another team
Yeah.
if you
Well, that's
can?
provided that they go home. Like they may not have went home. But
Oh, that's true. But the chance, I
yes,
think, which
yeah.
makes me think about Laurel's blah 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 from with Cara Maria, but like the
I
chance
agree
that
with
you
you.
could not go, or the chance that you could go home, is good enough to take. And also, like I said in our first episode, or maybe even episode 0, um, that I just simply would not. And Banana says this in confessional at one point. He was like, if my mother was blah blah blah, I simply
I
would
agree with
not.
bananas. I'd throw my mama in there too.
Yes. And
I
I
throw
was
my
like,
mom in. I would throw my mother into a hall brawl with Zach.
He's when Bananas was like, I would tell my mother to drop her shoulder. I was like, you're being diabolical. Like, that is crazy. Why would you do that? And like, granted, for the amount of money, like, there are not a lot of things I wouldn't do for $1 million, but like, I just a game so complicated as such, in the way that like players keep coming back, and
Yeah,
the challenge is not over after season 40, to the best of our knowledge. Um, I just really wouldn't sacrifice any real life friendships. Like, Avery and Derek C used to live together.
yeah.
Like,
Former roommates.
bro, I'm not sacrificing real life friendships for this. I'm just not for at least this early in
So
the.
I'm generally of the mindset that if I was like good friends with someone, I would never put them in a position where they had to choose between my friendship outside of the game and
Mhm.
an opportunity to win $1 million or $500,000
Yeah,
for themselves and their family. So I'd be like, if you got to throw me in for you to continue on a journey
I
or
see what you
whatever,
mean.
because there's always
Okay.
because I'm going into fight. Like I may come back anyway, and this might not matter. I wouldn't be like, hey, like if you throw me in, we're never speaking again. Like I wouldn't make you choose me over an opportunity for like life changing money or what can be life changing money depending
I
on who
agree.
you are and what you do to it with it.
But I would
But
only want to do so with complete clarity.
yeah, but
Like,
I but I would
this is what
I
we're
would
doing.
also like even if I didn't if I was in the other position where I had the power and it was between my friend and $1 million,
Hmm.
I would throw my friend in. Like if I'm throwing my mom into a hall brawl, you better believe I would throw any one of my friends into an elimination round.
This feels
And
like one of those Twitter questions, like, would you slap your mother for $200,000? And
200,000
like,
not enough money. But no,
oh,
no, actually, yeah,
like,
yeah, I'll do that. A
you
slap,
are
yes.
better than
A
me
slap,
because,
I didn't hear slap. Slap,
oh,
yes.
okay.
Slap, yes. two
Yeah.
hundred thousand dollars is enough money. I thought you were gonna say like, like there's like other ones that's like punch your mom, put her in prison for like $500 million, and people are like, I love my mom. My mom gonna have to do them 3 years, but she's gonna
My
come.
mother would look at me insane if I didn't do
Hey,
it.
she's gonna come out to a nice, beautiful
Exactly.
home. I'm gonna have 7 whips waiting for her. I'm gonna like
7 whips is wild.
one for each day of the week. I'm gonna have she gonna have her a Wraith, a BMW, a Mercedes, a Urus, anything she wants.
I
Um,
would do 3 years in prison for
yeah, I would. Yeah, I'm very afraid of prison.
correctional.
You were frozen for a little bit.
Oh, I would like to be in Dan. I said I would do 3 years for you for the money, but I would like to be in Danbury Correctional, which is where they put Martha Stewart.
Oh, okay. That if
Yes.
that's the case, I would do that. I would do that for a lot less than 500. I
Yes.
would do
It
that.
is, unfortunately, it is the jail that the prison that Orange is the New Black is based off of. So it's not like wonderful, but it is in Connecticut.
I don't care. It's in Connecticut. I feel like I can hang out with criminals from Connecticut.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Danbury Correctional.
Former Ivy League grads for white collar
Okay.
crimes. Absolutely.
There are some not Ivy League white collar crime people in there, but
I'm
yeah.
sure there are, but like I take my chances in Connecticut versus like San Jose. Like
Oh my God, absolutely not. The desert, first of all, the desert. Anyway, back to subject.
no, yeah. Tony or Avery, I agree with Avery, but not necessarily because of the friendship. Like I that wouldn't factor into my decision a whole lot. That would be maybe
Hmm.
like 10% of like if it's between my friend and somebody else, it's going to be somebody else like more than likely like anyway. But
Yes.
if it's between my friend and Kyland and Casey, it's Kyland and Casey.
That's what I'm
Like
thinking.
for all of the reasons that you said, it's an opportunity to possibly get rid of not just two of the stronger players on Era 4 and weaken Era 4, but two of the strongest players in the game
Period.
who aren't working with you and who have tons of other relationships that they hold way more valuable than their relationship to you. Like you met like
Hello again, Tony. Nobody likes you.
Tony, you've been away so long that you literally met these people 2 weeks ago. Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you're here playing for your family. You're here playing for your children and future wife. Like, I don't like I see his thought process in some of this in that he's probably like he doesn't even have a ton of relationships on his own era. And Kylan, I mean not Kylan, but
Mhm.
Casey is well connected, especially to Devin and Tori, who are trioed with Jordan and have like a little bit of a
Yeah.
power center going on Era 3. So it makes sense to kind of want to like do Tori and Devin's bidding. If that's his
I am in
thought,
love with Jordan now, by the way.
yeah, Jordan is cool. Um,
I'm in love with him.
Jordan has been growing on me the last few years. I used to hate him before. He's always been very good. He's always a great challenger, but he's a bit of an ass.
Oop.
Um, yeah. But to sort of like do Tori and Devin's bidding for them, protect their friends, and then maybe that puts you a little bit higher than Corey on them. But that's it. Like they
Yeah.
but that's
Mm.
it. Like you're not really securing your spot in the game. Like the best way to secure your spot in the game is to just stay in the game on a dominant team and keep winning, which you have. Like you guys won today. There's no reason for you to risk going in. That's why I felt like he should have put more consideration into like voting Kylan and Casey in
Yeah.
because y'all won today and there's a very good possibility that you guys they won by a margin today. And there's a good possibility that and Era 4 came in third place. So they weren't even like top 2 with y'all. There's a good possibility that you guys could win a few more
Hmm.
and keep yourself safe down the line and then, get to a point where maybe the elimination is more favorable for your skill set. I just thought
Would
he wasn't thinking like far enough ahead.
do you think because I think it's Abe, I don't know if it's Avery who's the first person who says this, but somebody says at some point in time that they feel like Tony just doesn't want to be
I'm not
here.
buying that. That's actually what I came
Okay.
here ready to defend Tony on. I'm not buying that narrative that
I know
Tony
I'm
wanted
not
to go home.
either.
Yeah,
I think
I'm
he
not
got pig-headed and he got a stick up his ass and I think he got weirdly like eh, misogynistic is carrying like a lot of weight here. Like I don't
Yeah,
think that,
that's also another point I wanted to defend Tony on because it came up a lot where Laurel, Avery, and Ryan said directly to confessional, like to confessional cam, and then I think a few other people said it in conversation. Jenny may have like mentioned something about like he doesn't want to like be strong armed by a woman. I don't think that matters either. Like I've I haven't like yeah I don't really know like I can't really remember too much of Tony's history on the show, but I don't know that we've seen that specifically from his personality
okay.
on the show. But also, I don't know that we saw that in the edit today. Like, I think like what he
Then what was
explained.
up his ass?
So this is what I actually think. I think Tony essentially like what I would characterize it as. I girl.
Sorry.
What I would
That was fantastic. I wish I could do that.
what I would characterize it as like largely is that Tony wanted to have his cake and eat it too. In that I think his
Hmm.
reasons for behaving the way he did was more so for like an audience, for like the viewing audience like us, than for like and maybe for the people in So when I say eat his cake and have it too is that he wanted to make a quote unquote big and flashy move to sort of like, because there's something that he said, and I think I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, um, where this happens in Chambers, and I think we should just kind of move to talking about Chambers now. There's a point in the Chambers where he's grilling Derek Chavez, and he's asking Derek, if you know, Derek says first, hey, if me and Aviv had won today, you guys wouldn't even be on the table. There's no question that I would be throwing in Kylan and Casey.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not a thought in my mind. Those two
Yeah.
would be going in. You guys would be safe. So you have my loyalty. And then Tony very smartly questions him on that and says, what about the rest of your team? Like, how would you convince the rest of your team?
Yes.
Where's the rest of your team on about voting in and stuff, da, 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 da. And Derek says, my team wants to take big shots. And Tony points at himself, and Casey laughs, and it's supposed to be like this blunder in the edit. But I don't think that was a blunder on Derek. Tony, you're not a big
No.
shot. Like, you haven't played in 5 years. Even when you have played, I don't think you've ever made a finals. Like,
It didn't seem like a blunder at all to me. I was like, it's the truth.
yeah, it's the truth. Like you're not the big shot. Like the big shots are all in, or not all, but like if you're on era 2, all of the big shots are on era 4, and they are Jordan, Tori, Devin, maybe Corey, but I don't even think Corey is like necessarily a big shot. I think there are bigger shots than Corey, even though I think he has a good chance at winning. Yeah, like Tony, you've made one finals in your entire challenge career, and you've been gone for five
Yeah,
years.
like you're not to me, with my little
Yeah.
baby knowledge, you're not cracking top five big shots.
So when he wrote that, I was like, Tony's committed to misunderstanding Derek, and because he's committed to throwing them in.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
what I said is he wants to have his cake and eat it too, which is I think he wants to like appear like he's making a big move, but the biggest move on the table right now, the biggest move on the board is Kylan and Casey.
Absolutely.
He wants to appear that he's making a big move while also building some sort of like IOU, or some sort of like, I don't want to say a relationship, but building some sort of like obligation with Era 4 to protect him, right? Um and
Yes.
I
And
think
it's
he
the
was,
same energy as I was bothered by last time when he was like, I'm so weak. I'm so weak. If you throw me in the challenge, if you throw me in the challenge, like who do you want at the end? Like somebody who, could
you
win, or
liked
you
it
want
last time.
me?
Stop lying. You thought that was clever.
No, I did not think of it. First of all, I listened to the episode, so don't tell me that. And second of all,
I did too.
what I really said was, I think that he overplayed his hand. I think he did all of that hoopla about being so weak to set himself, and he said so at like the beginning-ish of the episode, where he's just like, people underestimated me, but they won't underestimate me anymore, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, I think that he didn't like, what I thought was like really interesting was him sitting and talking with Bananas, who has basically been his like challenge mentor, and
That's when
going,
I saw the vape.
I don't trust Bananas anymore because he was cheering for Leroy. Well, yeah, they've been friends for longer, and they're like best friends. Like they're much closer than the two of you. Um
Yes, with the wig
so
and the vape.
so so like that's what I thought his blunder was, is that he was sort of trying to have like a big move. He was trying to convince the audience that he was making a big move, because
Yes.
I think his like brilliant plan was, I'm gonna threaten Avery with the stalemate, which he called his ace. I'm gonna threaten Avery with a stalemate, and she will be scared and back out, and her
Mm-hmm.
friends will go in, and then I will get loyalty from Kylan and Casey, maybe the rest of Era 4, and then also, deepen a bond, or an alliance with Devin and Tori
Mm-hmm.
on my
Mm-hmm.
specific era, right? And it
But
was
it's
just too, like,
it's
it's too
Derek who says, or somebody says, like clearly some version of like, clearly he doesn't know Avery because Avery will not
Yeah,
back
a few
down from
people said that.
this.
Jordan said that. Jordan said, "I've known Avery for 20 years."
There we go.
Like da da da. Da. Derek says a version of the same thing. Laurel says something similar to Jenny when Jenny pays her a compliment, and she gives it to Avery and says Avery's the exact same way. People just don't think so because she's quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I just think he had this like brilliant plan. It was just too convoluted. Like it was way too cute, right? But Tony's never been like known as like a strategist on this show anyway.
Which we see in the puzzle.
Yeah, which we've seen
Oh,
a few times already this season. It was too convoluted. Like you have two choices. Why you're trying to threaten your teammate and current partner with a stalemate like is beyond me. Unless it's like, and for people again, people that you met 2 weeks ago. Like if this was
yes.
for bananas and y'all were still like had like a really good relationship, like I'd understand it, right? If this was for any one of like your historic allies or whatever, like I understand that, or one of your real life friends, right? Like
Hmm.
that knows you, knows your family. Like I understand that, like somebody that you've become close with over the years. But it's for people that you met 2 weeks ago, in a crate in Vietnam, in in a
And
shipping
one time for
container.
the one time on that shipping container that they came out of, I know it was hot and nasty in there.
I know, and it's stank too.
Oh,
But like, yeah, it didn't make sense. Like, it's one of those things that like probably seems smart in the moment, and then you get eliminated, and you're sitting on that plane going back to Vermont or wherever you're from. He's not from Vermont, um, and you're
not the
like,
stray for
and
Vermont.
you're like, dang, I could have really just thrown these people in who have never done anything for me. I don't know, like you've never met these people before.
You
These,
don't have any, you were trying to build a house of cards on the idea that people would be grateful to you for
yeah,
saving them when
yeah.
these people have enough strength and power politically to do absolutely just fine on their own without you. Plus you.
Mhm.
Oh, I was
I
just like, the
Well, I
things
think people
I
turned
wrote
on
about
him because
Tony.
of this here. I think a lot of people sided with Avery because that's a terrible position to put someone in, right? Like
Yeah,
I'm sure the whole house was thinking like throw in Kylan and Casey. Like they're really
because it
good.
makes sense.
If they get to the end, like it's gonna
And they
be a
can take care of themselves, right?
yes,
Like that's
yes,
the thing.
it's gonna be like it's gonna be a challenge for any of us to beat them. Like throw them in. Like someone. Oh, Derek. Derek calls. Like Derek says something
Which
interesting. He says,
Derek?
Chavez.
Hmm.
We didn't hear from Derek K a lot this episode,
Yes.
except for what which I thought was really funny when Tony was like, "Yeah, I might still made it," and Derek go, "Oh!" Like if one of your opponents goes, "Woo!" like real excitedly when you mention your strategy
Yeah.
to them, you should probably rethink your
In front
strategy.
of the pasta in the pantry too. The pasta and the ramen in the pantry. Derek was like, "Oh,
It's like, yeah, like let's do it, like go for it. Look, is what's wrong with you? Like, but Derek says something. He's like, Casey's been to every like final for every season that she's participated in, which is true. Casey's never missed a final. She won Big Brother. like, she won Big
oh,
Brother.
yeah,
Like
I forgot."
Casey wins a lot. She won Big Brother. Came on here, went to every finals, although like that was a lie. She didn't go to the finals on Ride or Die, and then won once on the challenge. Um, she went to the finals on the championship, which is like a low throwaway game anyway, and she still made it to the finals there. And she should have went home. she should have went home. Like she was getting eliminated. should have gone home. And Amber B, yeah, Amber dropped out and gave her her spot. So Casey has all of the luck on her side. She has all of the brawn on her side. She has
Mm-hmm.
tons of political game, like the all the social game in the world. She'll be
Mm-hmm.
fine. Like she doesn't need help from Tony. And Kylan, who often I don't like who often in these games gets referred to as a genius. He is very smart. He's good at puzzles. He well, you've seen Kylan. He's tall.
Yeah.
He's strong. He's super strong. He's very fast. He can jump high. He's good at puzzles. He's smart. So he has brain and brawn and beauty.
Yeah.
And
And I was gonna say, and he's very cute,
and
which is
and
what Nia was like, "Ooh,
and this is the guy that like you're gonna torpedo your game for a guy who has like every advantage in the challenge and probably in the world too. like this is the guy you're gonna torpedo your game to like save.
yes." To save who doesn't need your political capital. I
He
just,
Kylan probably could have won that game against Darrell. Like, and that was like
yeah.
the other thing of like seeing this that kind of upset me is that like he was super concerned about throwing in Kylan and Casey. They likely wouldn't have gone home. Like, I don't know if Casey would have beat Jody like just because it was a puzzle and Casey is not always the greatest puzzle. But you know what
Yeah.
Casey would have had that Jody probably wouldn't have had? Casey would have had 3 of the 4 errors on that stage telling her what to do. Like Casey would
Yeah.
have had like 3 of the 4 errors up there, like telling her where to go and where to place her pieces. She would have had a lot more help than Jody would have
And
gotten.
that's what I said. She would have absolutely been able to take care of herself, and so would have Kyland. Like
Yeah.
totally, completely fine and taking care of themselves. Just a little side note for me before we move on to elimination.
Hmm.
The way that Naya and Kyland were kissing, like two couples who have just met each other on Love is Blind, was taking me out. The
I didn't
cut
pay
of
too much
them,
attention to this
I just
part.
thought it was really fun. Like the cut of it was really funny to me because it was like very like dramatic and like secretive. And I was just like, oh my gosh.
Naya had a tweet about this. I don't remember it now, but like I'll send it to you later. But that's it. I mean, we're pretty much done with the chambers. The only thing we didn't talk about was Darrell immediately throwing his friend Aviv under the bus
Oh
when
my
they ask him
God.
like who would
Yeah.
he want, and he's like, yeah, give me Derek and Aviv, which is smart. Like they're the two smaller ones, right?
Yeah.
But like, damn, that was that. But hey, I feel you, Darrell. It's Aviv or $1 million possibly. Aviv got to go in.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think so. That was like the energy or the reticence that Tony doesn't have about anybody is all in Darrell. Like even when we get to the end of elimination and we're doing the little target
Mhm.
thingy, like Darrell, I don't remember who says it. Maybe it was Michelle in confessional.
Tina.
uh, Tina, thank you. Who was just like Darrell is like not like this. He's like probably, and she like did his little shaky voice impression. I was like, yeah, you could see the beginnings of that even when he threw Vivian in
Yeah.
Chambers.
Yeah. So we get
Oy
out of
vey.
chambers. We go out. This is when we get to the toga party. And at the toga party, like I've seen so many of these parties now. They all kind of look the same. But at the toga party, we get a
Bananas wig, bananas
oh,
wig.
that's not what I was gonna talk about.
Oh,
After the toga party, it was like Love Island. We had Kylan and Naya in a closet, Theo and Olivia on a chair on the pool chairs, and then Devin and Michelle on pool chairs, and then we flash back to the room with Kylan and Naya in there, and then with people sleeping right next to them. But
hello.
I don't even really want to talk about any of that because I don't
Okay.
care about any of that. I want to talk
Oh,
about Josh and Tori's fight because Josh is also woken up
yeah.
at by the sounds of of Kylan and Naya's love, and right next door is actually crazy. Naya, you's a wild girl.
I want to say something so diabolical.
You's a wild girl,
You're gonna
Naya.
have to cut this out. Cut. Let's just distress and cut.
Okay. Yeah, so Josh wakes up. He can't take any more of uh whatever woke him, and he goes to go talk to his friend Tori,
With his
who
braids half undone.
with his braids half undone. Actually, I didn't say this earlier, but like Josh looks like he's balding a little bit,
Oh.
and the braids on the crown, like the braids up front, are
Mhm.
spaced out.
Oh, let me see.
Like
Let me see a
there's
picture
not
of
a
him.
lot holding them near each other. And I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I was gonna let him cook, but it looked crazy in the pool. Like
Jinky
that's when I really
Scoob.
saw it. I saw so much scalp, and I was like,
Oh, Jinky Scoob. Oh
fascinating.
no.
But no, Josh and Tori. So
Is Josh Dominican?
Josh is Cuban. Josh is Cuban.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Okay.
He's Cubano. But Josh and Tori. So Tori voted in. I don't remember USA Champions. What is it called? Challenge
Child, do
USA
you know? I
2.
don't
It
know.
was it was a Challenge USA season 2. I remember the events that led to Tori voting Josh in. I think like at the time I thought it was a good vote cuz just because it was like the one time that like Tori's alliance wasn't just like picking off other people, and I
Hmm.
was rooting for the Survivor girls anyway. I was rooting for Desi and Michaela. Well, Desi and Michaela. I'm sorry, Chanel. I wouldn't really root for you. I was
I don't
rooting
know
for
what
the
any of that means, but sorry, Chanel.
yeah, wasn't room for you either, Michelle. So it was just Desi and Michaela. Actually, I don't know why I said Survivor Girls because that was a lie. Wasn't room for you either, Cassidy. It was just Desi
You
and.
are just naming people you are not rooting for. They are catching strays. They're not even here.
But that was it, right? And
Hmm.
she I think she just didn't have any options. I don't quite remember, and she had to like betray Josh
Hmm.
or somebody else, but like whatever. I don't remember the circumstances, so I don't know. I don't really know. But flashback to that of Tori voting in Josh and then confessing to it. I would have he would have caught that on TV.
Like I don't. It
It
seemed
was good for her to confess.
It was good for her to confess, yes, but I was kind of like, I who said, oh my God, somebody said in confessional that they thought, I think it might have been Tina, maybe. Hold on, I want to see if I can get this right. Oh. Yes, I think it was Tina who said, I know I'm gonna be wrong. Damn. That like they think that this Josh's reaction was more than just Tori like making fun of him, that he may have gotten his feelings, or at least his ego, a little bit bruised by the Nia situation and
Yeah.
took it all out on Tori. I was like, I feel like that's actually happening here. And
Yeah,
I don't
I
think
thought
he's
so
doing it on
too.
purpose. I think he's just people get
Well,
uncomfortable.
actually, like my perspective on this is because I haven't liked Josh historically. I've never liked him on this show. I never thought he should have been on this show, but I liked him on USA too, and
Hmm.
I've liked him so far on this season. And I was actually happy with the way he handled this because like historic Josh is just like loud. Like if you look up like Josh challenge compilation or whatever, you'll just see him
Hmm.
like screaming at people. Like his
Oh,
his role on the show is just chaos. It's just getting drunk and fighting
agitation. Yeah.
and cursing people out and
Well, that's why he's here.
getting in arguments and like doing a bunch of stuff, right? So I actually thought he like handled this pretty well. Like he kind of went to her and was like, I don't know if she was like laughing at him. I don't think that I saw that. Personally, I don't. Maybe she laughed at a joke that somebody else said, which again could be hurtful. Like I understand, but
Yeah.
like I don't think she was being like very like malicious toward
Oh
him.
no, I don't think he was being malicious at all, which is why I think Tina's point was very
Yeah,
valid, that Josh was coming into it a little bit ego bruised,
yeah.
and then his friend Tori does this,
Upset,
and so
upset and
yeah,
embarrassed, like
embarrassed, yeah, definitely.
feeling like a clown because that was the same night, I believe.
I yeah, just
uh,
oh wait,
oh,
actually no,
maybe
I don't.
not. Maybe
No,
not.
I don't think
Toga
this
night
is
was the
Toga
next night.
Party. Yeah,
Yeah.
Toga Party is with the Naya
Oh yes,
and
yes, yes,
yeah.
yes. But yeah. So I thought that like yeah he probably woke up. He was a bit embarrassed. He was a bit upset, and then you have like the history of them. I don't know what their relationship has looked like since that show because that was a year ago, I believe,
Hmm.
like or maybe a little over a year ago. And I thought he handled himself well for Josh's standard. Like for what his
I see what
standard
you mean.
has been and how he typically handles even like the smallest discretions in the past, he handled himself well this time. And I was kind of proud of him. I was happy
Hmm.
that like I can still kind of root for him and can still like him because I want to see him do well. I don't want to see him win, but I want to see him do well.
That's fair. We live
um
our Afro Latinos.
so then we get into the elimination.
Hmm.
And the nomination, right? So the first thing we see is everybody like comes in. We got our three losers in their uniforms, and we're gonna figure out who's gonna go play. Darrell and Jody are already down there that we know, and Tony and Amanda have to make a decision. Or Amanda, sorry, I just conflated two seasons. Tony and Avery.
Yeah,
Amanda
Miss
did the same
Amanda.
thing with Zach previously. Tony and Avery have to make a decision on who they're gonna send in,
Hmm.
and Avery wants to send in Kylan and Casey, which I think we both agree is the correct choice, and
Yes.
Tony wants to send in Derek and Aviv.
Hmm.
They can't come to an agreement. They stalemate. TJ says he hates stalemate. He pulls them both down. Now they have to compete, and we find out that they are in fact competing individually. It'll be guys against guys, ladies against ladies, and winner stays, loser goes home.
Yeah.
So this was honestly the most ideal thing that could happen for Avery. You have a puzzle, so she doesn't have to get into
Oh,
anything
yes.
physical with
Those
Jody.
blocks look heavy as hell,
Those
though.
blocks were heavy, and I thought Avery did well. So you
Yes.
have a puzzle. She has half of the house sort of like wanting her back, which makes a big difference in puzzles, especially in a puzzle like this where the audience, I mean the watchers can actually see it. They can know the rules and they can help out because sometimes they can't see the puzzle board and
Oh, yes.
you're solving and it's blind to the audience. So
I
you
wrote
have
this puzzle is making my head hurt. I was like trying to figure it
I
out, and
actually
I was
meant
like,
to I
oh,
meant to pause the episode and see. It didn't seem hard. Like this seemed like one of those things that like it looks harder on TV because they like flash the rules really quickly. Um,
I see. Yes.
But like this wasn't like a
I don't think I could
particularly
do that under
difficult.
pressure.
Yeah, that's what it
Yeah.
is. Like it's under pressure, you're timed, you're right next to your opponent, you're seeing them race. So I think this was best case scenario for Avery, and maybe worst case scenario for Tony, because now you have all of Avery's friends upset at you. You have a lot of your team upset at you because you know
I mean,
for
they
whatever
cut it at
reason.
the end, like, or when Avery's like getting hoisted, so it's like Tony looking awkward and weird, like
Oh, I didn't
in
notice.
amidst everyone, yeah, because like,
Yeah,
well, obviously it's a cut like that on purpose, but like everyone's like celebrating and Tony's just kind of like standing there in the corner. I was like, well,
yeah. Like I don't understand why people were especially upset by this stalemate. I feel like the house typically loves a stalemate because it's drama. Like it's good entertainment. But I think it's the nature of how it was done. I probably have a feeling that a lot of the people from era two and even era three, like the Nayas and the Corys, like realize what a what a risk it is to have Kylan and Casey in a game and to have like such a free shot, well, such a clear shot against them to weaken that team on Era 4 and not take it. Like you probably upset a little bit more than just Avery.
oh, absolutely.
So we get into Darrell and Tony going first. And I meant to pause. I thought the wiki would have the rules of the game because sometimes they do, and they just didn't. So I didn't screenshot it from the show. But I believe the one that they play, essentially there are four colors, right? Red, blue,
Hmm.
yellow, and green. And the two puzzles are a little different. The women's puzzle and the men's puzzle are a bit
Hmm.
different. But I believe the guys' puzzles was just that yellow has to have two different colors beside it, and it couldn't be next to blue. So yellow has to have red and green beside it. That's basically
Yeah.
it. And then one of the colors could only be next to itself, like or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
And you had to put in two squares at a time. Um, so Darrell obviously has the support of everybody. Tony has nobody helping him. Or if he did, like their voices was just gonna get drowned out
You
anyway.
play stupid games, you literally win stupid prizes. Also worth noting that the colors of the puzzle were not the only colors stacked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, correct. So
Hmm.
you'd have to move other blocks to get to
Hmm.
the colors that you
Hmm.
needed, which just led to fatigue. I think you had to put two like the same color next to each other twice, like to build your bridge all the way. But or your sidewalk is what they called it. But you could only carry one block at a time, and if
Yes.
you messed up, you had to like remove everything up to the point that you messed up, and you could also only remove one block at a time in case of a mistake. Which I
Oh, I thought you had to reset the whole thing when you messed up.
no, it's just that
Okay.
the one mess up that we saw, the two mess ups that we saw, I think it was one of those puzzles that you were given just enough pieces to complete it in one orientation. So if you started with the wrong one,
Yes.
which was the only mess up that we saw, Tony started with the wrong color and so did the girls, and they both had, so they had to like
Yeah.
remove
Because it's in the
everything.
girls, because the girls go second. So it's in the
Mm.
girls where I think maybe Jordan or somebody is like,
Like
oh,
notice it, like yeah, we're
yeah.
running out of pieces, we're running out of pieces. Tony didn't get to the point where he ran out of pieces, but he ran
Mhm.
out of a color, and then he was like, oh, like, and I put it at the beginning, and I should have started with something else.
Also, I kind of think Tony might be colorblind. I don't know. Maybe I'm colorblind, but like there was points in time where I was like, I think you're carrying a color that you think is a color that's not a color, like with the orange and the
Like to
red.
the sidewalk, he carried it, or was he just moving it out of the way?
No, he was. There's one specific time, or maybe orange was in the puzzle for men. I don't think it was
It
though.
wasn't in any
But
of
there
them. They
was a
had the same
part.
color, just a different
Yeah,
orientation.
but he like yes, okay. So then there's a point right before he loses where he's carrying like an orange block to the puzzle, and I was like, I think you think that's red, but that's not red. Like,
Oh, I think you're correct, so because he grabs something and someone screams at him, wrong color, and he turns
yeah.
around, so he never gets all the way. Yeah, so Darrell beats Tony quite handedly. I
Mhm.
will say
Yeah.
that like I think he just got demoralized. Like this is where the cheating allegations, I mean not the cheating, the quitting allegations, like really kicked up. I
Yeah,
just think Darrell had more help. Tony had
absolutely.
no support. He realized that he had no support. He realized the mistake that he made, of just like coming down here because even the people he was doing it to help like weren't supporting him. Like Tori and
Yeah.
Devin weren't helping him out. Like right?
No.
Kylan and Casey weren't yelling for him to like do this. Like I heard Corey more like telling Tony where to, like I mean I heard Jordan helping him out a lot and Corey helping him out a lot and Devin putting like a 2 cents in here and there. But like his team was like
Everybody else
largely
was not
quiet.
helping him.
Yeah, like people were either
Hmm.
like screaming for Darrell or they were like largely quiet.
Especially when we see Avery later on in the contrast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jody, because Jody's whole team had her back, like right, all of Era One was trying to help Jody, but yeah, so he gets eliminated, and there, and people are very happy about it. Then the women go, same thing, like Avery had support, a lot of support from her era, from Era Two, and then Jody had kind of all of Era One working to help her. I think
Yeah.
similar thing happened to Jody. I was very sad to lose Jody this episode. Also,
Oh,
like Avery deserved her win. Like she earned that win. Like you win the daily challenge with your neck on the line. You like barely like narrowly escape like eliminate well not narrowly they actually won the daily challenge quite
yes.
handedly but you escape like being up for elimination just for your partner that you escaped elimination with to like force you down there for no good reason.
No
um
good reason. Yeah. And Jody, and we see it more so with the women because they reset, I think, once each.
mhm.
That like Jody gets tired and so does Avery. Like
Yeah,
they
I
are
think I think
fighting at
Jody
the
has
end.
a bit of the same thing where I think she got like demoralized. Like I think if she like cuz she mentioned it she was like I was sat in the furthest position from the stage so I could barely hear what people were screaming to me and then you have on top of that like one group screaming for you and two and a half groups screaming for Avery like giving her directions.
Yeah.
You don't know if you should be doing exactly what she's doing, which you should because there's only one solution. But like if you're waiting to hear her directions or whatever, you're doing every move one step behind her. So should I just break out and try to finish this by myself or like wait
And she says in
for
her confessional that this was her worst, I don't know if she says worst nightmare, but like that this situation was not something that she was looking forward to in an
yeah.
elimination.
Yeah, I think like I said I think like Jody had a really good shot to get go deep in this game. I thought she would go further. Like I thought she was she's certainly one of
Yeah.
the strongest women on Era 1, but like I thought she would go further. She's really good in the water. She's good over heights. She has great endurance, and I've always really liked her on the show. Um, and she
So
hasn't
now
been.
we've lost from era one. We lost, did we, Katie, Mark, and Jody?
Mhm.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So now Era 1 is down to 7, and Era 3 is also down to 7. They lost 3 players, and then the other two eras are down to 8 apiece.
Lord have mercy. Actually, I should probably be keeping track of this in terms of my own little notes about who's there. Because as you know, my fear of getting something spoiled, which literally just happened to you, prevents me from going on the
I
wiki
mean,
all the time.
yeah, like why else would you have no reason to go on the wiki before you watch an episode, right? I had no reason to go on
No,
that wiki
that's
before
fair.
I watched an episode either. I just kind of I just kind of like forgot. I forgot it was Wednesday night and I forgot that I hadn't seen the newest
The
episode.
episode. Are we ready for targets?
Yes. So you want to take
Okay.
this explanation?
I would actually like you to explain to me, because I
Oh,
do
okay.
one pass, what in the fresh hell are we doing?
So essentially like today where each team elected their own representatives,
Yes.
essentially you're going to have these representatives in every challenge for the foreseeable future. But instead of your team on the day of the challenge going, hey, these two are going to be our representatives, because you can strategize that. You can all just take turns and go, hey,
Yeah.
this y'all are going to be risking yourselves this time. We're going to risk ourselves next time. They're going to risk themselves the next time. What happens is the two people who won in the elimination bout, the man will choose one woman from each era, and the woman who won the elimination bout would choose one man from each era, and
Yes.
the man and woman chosen from their respective era would be targets, would have a target on themselves, where their era must win the next competition in order for them to be safe. If your error
Okay.
finishes in fourth place, just like it was today, those two targets are automatically in elimination, and then the other two people that came in the middle groups will have to go into chambers and plead their case to the winners. So what we had here today,
Gotcha.
but instead of your teammates electing you to be the person that
Hmm.
is risking taking that risk, it's the previous losers. The interesting thing about it is, and I think this might be the intention of the production team, is what it does is like when you send somebody in, you have to be a little bit more wary now because
Yeah.
if they do go in elimination and come back, then they're just kind of thrown it. Which Avery mentioned, she's like, oh, I don't really want to do this because whichever guy I put a target on that wins, like I'm choosing all four men, which is the crazy part to me. Like she's choosing all four men that are possibly up for elimination next bout.
Yeah.
Whichever one of them wins and comes back, the easiest thing for them to do for era 3 is to not make enemies of any of the other women and just throw Avery in. And
Yes.
I think that's what we're going to see. Like I don't think in the next episodes, well it depends on who wins, that we're going to see people like I think we're going to see, unless like Avery wins or Darrell's team wins, like I think we're going to see them have a target on their back. One of
Yeah,
them. I
because
think one of
it's
them are going to get a target on themselves
I
next.
think it's Avery who says in confessional maybe that like whatever you're doing here is like what is that phrase? She doesn't use it, but I'm going to use it. Like when you point at somebody and all three fingers like point back to you, like you are inherently labeling yourself as a target moving
Yeah.
forward.
Like think about it. If you're Anissa and your era ends up losing next week, or you end up getting voted in, and you win, you come
Yeah.
back and it goes to era 1. Do you make an enemy of Derek or CT
No,
or
absolutely
Brad?
not.
Or you
No.
just give it back to Darrell. Hey, you threw me in. I'm giving it back to you.
Yeah.
That at least takes one person kind of like off the table for you. Like that you don't have to think about relationships or whatever. There, I can just go. Hey,
Yeah.
you threw me in. I'm gonna throw you back in. Especially you
Which
threw me in when I just came off of an elimination.
which
Um,
is a bastardization of ironically Jordan's strategy, which is if you owe me something or if I owe you something, I'm just gonna do it. Like that's just it. I was
yeah,
like, well, yeah, that's fair.
yeah. If
But
I
that's
owe
when
you
Anissa
nothing,
was
I
just
give you
like,
nothing.
hmm?
I say if I owe you nothing, I give you nothing.
Yes. And that is when, which I mentioned at the beginning of our episode, Anissa is just like, I'm gonna F this man up. Because she was like, I'm so pissed. I'm so angry that this has happened right now. My only note about this is correct me if you feel differently, but I wrote my literally last note for the whole episode is targeting the black people, Darrell.
Oh, well, I want to talk about this because I want to go through error by error and talk about each of their targets.
Yes.
Let me see. I mean, all of his picks make sense. All of Avery's picks kind of make sense too. So
I think in era, was it, it's Jordan, in era 3, they
Jordan volunteers.
volunteered.
Jordan
Yeah.
volunteers. So era 1, Direct,
I know. I'm sorry.
Darrell, Darrell, has to choose a woman, and he chooses Anissa.
Yes.
So his options were Rachel, Tina, and Anissa. I think he's played multiple times with Rachel, multiple times with Tina. He left around fresh meat. He probably has the closer relationships with the other two, and that makes sense.
Okay.
Like they all kind of run in the same circles. They're all parents. They all started around
Mm.
the same time. Rachel is his. Oh yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Rachel is his castmate from Real World, so they both started their reality TV career together on the same
Oh,
show. They briefly dated in the past, or at least like flirted, like they were gonna date before she came out. And then Tina is her best friend. So
yeah.
he's known Rachel for 23 years and has probably known Tina for another 20 years and has
Yeah.
been on multiple seasons with both of them. And has he no he was on the Good Guys, not the okay. So he's been on multiple seasons with both of them. They're very close and he's very close to Rachel. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Um yeah, and he has a relationship with like CT and Derek, who probably have closer relationships with Rachel and Tina. So Anissa makes sense. I still think Anissa is the weakest woman, like not by a lot, like because I think like Tina, honestly, but like I think
Oh,
Anissa
yeah.
might
An
be,
era 1.
yeah, might be the
Yeah.
weakest woman in Era One. So it does the least damage to their team to lose her if they have to lose one of their women.
Politically and physically, unfortunately.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does the least damage to their team. On Era 2, he chooses Laurel. And I think for similar reasons, I was kind of
Wait. You have to give me my moment.
go off.
I was filled with so much joy.
Same. I love
I was
seeing
like,
Laurel
God,
and Bananas.
Laurel, out of here. Like that and banana exactly. And bananas. I was like, get get rid of Laurel.
I wouldn't celebrate right now. Oh.
I'm not celebrating. I just don't. You know, I'm an anti-Laurel person on a human to human level. She freaks me
Yeah.
out. I don't like Laurel. Get rid of Laurel, please. And not for political reasons, for the game reasons, but just because I don't want to look at her or hear her ever again.
Laurel's fine this episode to me. I ain't gonna lie.
She bothers me
She
so
wasn't there
much.
very much. She was there like she was in like three
She
scenes.
needs to not be there at
I
all.
barely even saw her in the challenge. Like she just wasn't there.
She needs to be there. Not at all.
He chooses Laurel. I don't know why he didn't choose Emily. Now, he might
Oh,
oh, you know what?
what would be the rationale for choosing
No, no, no,
Emily?
no, 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 no. Cara Maria was Darrell's teammate on Fresh Meat 2. Just like Aviv was Darrell's teammate on Fresh Meat 1, Cara
Oh,
and Darrell were partnered together on Fresh Meat
oh,
2. They've been teammates, and Laurel's her op, and he knows that.
Laurel's an op.
Shout
I'm
out to
sorry. I just can't.
Darrell.
Yeah. And I don't even think he arrives there politically. I think he arrives there like, oh, shucks, I don't want to upset anybody. And I don't want to upset anybody that I like. And
No, no,
so,
I think that's the reason. Like I can't I don't think he's like an all shucks guy. He's a very direct guy. He doesn't play the game of like antagonizing people. To
mhm,
Tina's point, like he doesn't show his cards, but he is a very direct guy. Like you're gonna know his
yeah.
thoughts. Like he has a line in the sand. Like either I'm with you or I'm like against you. And if I'm with you, like I'm
Mhm.
with you. If I'm against you,
Yes.
like there's nothing to that. That makes sense. So it's between like Carr's been a former teammate of his. They have a decent relationship. And he's probably never played with Emily, and has played. Laurel may have been the reason he was voted in on Fresh Meat too, as well too, because they got eliminated.
Oh.
So that makes sense. There's a little background there.
Boo, Laurel.
Um,
There's
Naya
three.
also makes sense
Oh,
here. He's not Era 3. He chooses Naya.
yes.
So Tori Deal, super strong, well insulated. Team's probably not gonna lose. So Naya probably team's not gonna lose. So she's probably not gonna go in. Janae, they've been on multiple seasons of All Stars together. Um, did they?
I feel like we don't see, I mean, we haven't seen anything of John A. really.
No, we haven't. Which means
Okay,
that
good.
once we hear from her, we know she's going home. We already know. We know what time it is. Once we start hearing from Janae and she starts talking about her kids, we know what time it is. um, yeah. So like, yeah, she was in All Stars 1 with him. Pretty sure he was on. Yeah, he was on All Stars 2 as well. But they were partnered because that was the format of All Stars 1. They were partnered together at some points. On All Stars 1, and I know they were partnered together in
So
the
it's Jordan and
final.
Naya from 3.
Yes, I haven't gotten to the men yet. I'm just gonna do Darrell's pick
Oh,
for now.
sorry.
And then Darrell's fourth pick for the women is Jenny, who's the only woman in the entire game that he hasn't met and never played on the season with. So
Which I think he says, right? Like, I
yeah,
just like don't know you.
yeah, I don't know you. I just met you today. I just
Yeah.
met you a few weeks ago. It was
In
something that
that
Tony should
shipping
have did.
container.
Something that Tony should have done. Now we can get to Avery's picks. I'm so sorry. There's something on my eye.
You're fine.
Um, Avery from Era One chooses Derek K. She chooses Derek Kaczynski. Um, I don't
Did
know
she
why.
say
Oh, she
why?
says yeah. She says because he's the only one not looking at me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Avery doesn't know anybody, so I can't really like judge like her picks here. I don't. She chooses Bananas in Era Two. Now, Derek is her BFF. Ryan is his sister. Nehemiah and Bananas.
Ryan is his what?
Ryan is Derek's sister. They're friends. They're BFFs.
Oh, okay. So
They
I was like,
they call each other sister,
okay, thank you.
or sisters. So between Nehemiah and Johnny Bananas, she chooses Johnny Bananas. I was kind of surprised by this because Derek and Laurel are very close, and Laurel and Bananas are very close. And Avery and Derek and Laurel are all close, right, and kind of working together. I was surprised she
Hmm.
chose Bananas. I thought Nehemiah would go in for sure. I wonder. I wonder if this is like payback for Brandon or something. But I don't think.
Do you think she
Yeah,
thought about it that much
I
for
don't think she thought
bananas?
about it. I think she probably got like frazzled in the decision. Maybe
Yeah.
just didn't even like notice Nehemiah probably. So shout out to
And
him.
yes,
Shout
because
out to
I don't be
him.
noticing Nehemiah on a regular basis.
We haven't seen a lot from Nehemiah either. So again, once he starts talking about his kids, we know what time it
Yes.
is. We know he's going into elimination or he's going home. And then Era 3, Jordan Volunteers. That's her homeboy from Portland. Well, I don't know if they were close on Portland, but they were on the same. They started out on the same Real World season together. So I'm sure there's like a little like head nod agreement, like I got your back. I'll take
Hmm.
care of you if you take care of me,
And
type
he
of thing.
volunteers.
And he volunteers, makes it easy on her.
Yeah.
I was hoping if I was her, I'd be like, "F that volunteer, Devin, Devin, you're going in, bruh." Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I just, oh,
Ain't
wait,
no
hold on.
way.
Did I keep track?
Um,
Again, Count Olaf, I missed you this episode. We get like 2 seconds of him being very
the
drunk at some
cast is
point, but
too
that's
big.
it.
This happens a lot in the modern era of the challenge. Like you just go weeks without hearing from certain people, because
Hmm.
the cast is too big and we're only going to tell one or two stories at a time.
Yeah,
Era
typical.
4, she chooses Horacio. Again, I don't know why. But, like, again, Avery doesn't know anybody here. Like, she hasn't been around
Yeah,
for a
I
long
don't think
time.
there's any, maybe with bananas, maybe there's an ulterior motive there, but everybody else, I really think there might even be a chance that she doesn't even know
Yeah.
everybody's name. And she's like, I know this
No,
name. Here we go.
prior to All Stars, the last season that she played, when was Rivals? Rivals 3? Did she play on Rivals 3? Um, what did she play? One time she was partnered with Johnny Riley, who was her ex. So I don't know if that was exes or yeah. I think the last season she played was a rival season, which we haven't the last rival season we had was maybe 7 years ago, 8 years ago.
Oh,
So
oh,
she's been gone for
like eight
nearly
calendar years, not 8 seasons.
8 calendar years.
Oh my gosh.
Like rival. Let me look it up. Rivals 3 was in 2016. So
Oh,
it aired. Is this yeah? It
eight
aired in
years.
2016. It stopped airing in October of 20 no August of 2016. So yeah, 8 years ago.
Good Lord.
And Horacio's first season started airing in 2022. So
Oh, yeah. So
yeah,
they don't know each other.
they played 6 years apart. You
Yeah,
know,
I really think that she just picked people,
yeah,
and
makes
that's
sense.
fine. And which is pretty much what she says before she starts picking anybody, which is like, I can't enjoy
Yeah,
this
this is
moment.
tough for her because she's never met these people and she's just made enemies with several of them.
Yeah. But I do
This
appreciate
sucks.
that I think her and Darrell give everybody an opportunity to volunteer.
Ain't nobody gonna volunteer. I would
I
never.
know, but I don't know. I just liked that. I was like, okay, well, if they made a decision, like, yeah.
No, they're not doing that for those people's benefit. They're doing that for their benefits.
I know, I
That's
just
why I would never
like
volunteer. I would never give them the opportunity to.
I think Anissa says that in confessional, like,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
she didn't volunteer
volunteer.
for the representative piece, which
Oh,
is
that's what it
smart,
was, yes.
obviously. What do I think about the targeting thing? I I'm trying to think about like I like when they switch up the format to voting, but
Hmm.
the truth is the challengers are going to break it very quickly. What I want to see, what I
I don't
really
know
want
what
to
you mean by
see,
that.
like essentially the veteran, the hardcore veterans are going to find a way to exploit this system to protect themselves. And one of the issues that we kind of have is that there's like very little parity. One of the reasons why you have like such dominant figures in the game, people
Hmm.
who go to like 4, 5, 6, 7 finals in a row. I don't know if anybody's done 7 finals in a row, but just people who are
Yeah.
consistently making deep runs into the game. It's not always because they're like very good at the game politically or physically. A lot of them actually lose a lot. They don't have great like daily
Yeah.
records or great like elimination records, but they make it far because they have like relationships that insulate them in a
Yeah.
way that breaks the intention or of the game makers, right? Like so if we have a season
Yes.
where we have stars and you got to go in to get your stars, you have a bunch of people that are able to just wait out the entire and just like not participate in the premise of the season until 1 week before the finals and then they're still in the final anyway, right?
See, and this is kind of what I love that you said that for context for me, because that makes me think about what we've already talked about, which is I feel like, or yes, what I said earlier, that I think that they're trying really hard to like exploit that era relationship thing. Like they're trying to really target that as much as they can,
Mm-hmm.
to like make that a difficult part of the game, or to make that factor into the game, I guess I should say. But I'm interested to see if you're right that like it does not gonna, not that it doesn't matter, but that people are gonna figure it out anyway. Because like we forgot, well, not we forgot, but we still have the karma thing that happened last episode that like we did not even touch upon this episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Like I was gonna ask you, did I just miss that? And did they tell Tony and Jody about karma points or
No.
whatever? And I just missed that.
I
Yeah,
watched through to the I watched through to the end when it turned into ridiculousness, and I did not see.
I'm afraid. Like it depends on who wins next week. But I'm afraid what's gonna happen is
Who would you target in era two?
I said Bananas and Laurel or Car. If I'm Horacio and Jenny,
Yes.
like Car and Laurel are on the table. I don't really care, right? If I'm Mariama, it's Laurel and Johnny. Um,
Mm. Even though they just got targeted.
yeah, I would. I
Okay.
put it back on them. Like if anyone from era, any man from era, not from era two wins, they need to put another target on Laurel. If any woman not from era two wins, they need to put a target on Johnny. Like
Gotcha.
Laurel is really has a really good track record in the finals. Well, it's not that good. I guess she only has one win, one out of four.
I
But
just want
like,
her to get off my TV
but
screen.
she's excellent in the finals. I mean, if you're counting the All Star win, then she's 2 and 3. She's excellent in the finals. Bananas has 7 finals wins. He's excellent in the finals too. I have a sneaky suspicion that this is going to end up being an individual game at the end. I think like sometime before the final, we're going to dissolve teams and it's going to be an individual
Mm.
game. And I
Is
hate
that a
that.
thing that usually happens?
That happens quite frequently now. I wish we would have like full on like team finals. We don't get there anymore. We get like pairs or individuals. Um,
If it is a team final and the team wins, do they split the money?
They split the
Okay.
pot. So, and one of the maybe part where one of the reasons that we don't get it is because you can't really give a guarantee number financially to the players. That's probably why they don't do it anymore. Because there are times like
Yeah.
we've had seasons where like like where one team is so dominant that they barely lose any players through the course of the season, and they get to the end and split the money and everybody gets like $17,000 or something like that. And
Oh,
like you
yes. Yeah.
right, and then the gap between first place and second place is just not even that big anymore. Because
Oh,
you
that's
have to
such a double-edged sword.
yeah, you have to split your money like 7 ways. And then like we also used to get a lot more throne challenges in the past because of that, because people would try to like downsize their team. Like especially if you have a really
Yeah.
dominant team and the other team is like particularly weak, you try to throw a couple of challenges and then force them to send in your weaker players or vote in your weaker players.
And cut down. Yeah.
Yeah, and cut the fat a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's just my suspicion why we don't see team ran finals anymore. Is just because you can't guarantee like first place, second place, like a
Yeah.
guaranteed number.
If MTV doesn't want us to stop playing Rob Dyrdek $40 billion every day for the
Yeah,
ridiculousness.
they're stuck with him. Like they're not doing it. It's not their choice. Like he kind of strong armed them into the deal that he's been able to have.
Yes.
But
Re,
that's my suspicion. My suspicion is that we're gonna see a individual final at the end, and I don't know, or yeah, I think we're gonna see individuals at the end. Like they might start it in teams and then like be like, now you're all on your own, like second day. Yeah. What was my thoughts before we got off topic a little bit?
child, I don't know. I'm so
Okay,
hungry.
I think we're done. Yeah, we're done. Oh, I was talking about what I hoped happened. Yeah, I just hope the people that I want to see. I hope Carr is able to go far. I hope Brad is able to go far. CT as well.
What about our
Horacio,
MVP and our
Kylan.
LVPs for this
Yeah,
week?
yeah, yeah. Who did you love this episode?
Oh, who did I love this
Oh,
episode?
your MVP, your MVP.
Yes, my MVP for this episode is honestly it's Naya. It's
I knew
Naya
you were
because
gonna say that. I literally scrolled right to her picture. It was just stuck. I was just waiting for you to say. I knew you were gonna
how
say that
dare you? It's Naya because I just loved what she
for no
said.
reason other than she kissed a boy.
Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
Obviously. I am the personality hire in this podcast.
Good for her.
And then my loser obviously is Tony.
Oh, okay. Okay, I don't
Based
know
on
if I
nothing
feel
besides the fact that he
strongly. I don't
bothers
know if
me.
I feel strongly about a loser. My winner this episode. I didn't think too much about it. I think it's Avery. Avery looked
Oh,
real
yeah.
good this episode. I liked it.
My
She,
little teeny
yeah.
tiny.
I didn't expect a lot from her. I still kind of do expect like a mid-game exit from her, but she's doing well. She's in a good position. She has friends across her other eras, and in a game where now like your safety is dependent on somebody from another era not putting a target
Hmm.
on your back. That could be valuable as long as Derek doesn't go in or go in and come back because I feel like he gonna definitely take a shot at her. My loser this episode, I don't think it's Tony for me. I think it's Brad with the rudder. That boating, that rowing section just pissed me off so bad.
Disastrous. And I think he had
Uh,
his his beard in a ponytail.
yeah.
Ugh.
It's Brad with the rudder. I
Brad,
didn't
I'm
I
gonna
didn't
catch you with
hate
some
Tony's
clippers.
move. I just thought it was like misguided and but
I
he's never been known for good strategy, so you
He
get
just
what you get.
bothered the heck out of me. Like I was like, you're just doing like literally so much for no reward until you're bothering me. Rest in pieces to Jody because she's real cute and
Yeah,
she's
shout
my
out
best.
to Jody. I love you. I'll miss you. Please come back.
Shouts to
Y'all,
Jody.
please invite Jody back. The challenge. Don't let her stay away for too long. Um, all
Yes.
right, that's it. That's all that we have today for the Reality Roundup TV. Please, again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Please subscribe so you can tap in with us. Hit that notification bell. Help us get to 1,000 subscribers. Thank you.
Yes.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.